welcome to the Titletown Huddle on the gruelingtruth.net.
The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. They really suck. Yes, the Bears still suck.
Welcome to the Titletown Huddle at the gruelingtruth.net, where the legends speak. And I got Aaron Zepnick here, and I guess we're going to have to tell the grueling truth about that game against the Cowboys this past Sunday. But first off, before we do that, Aaron, you're telling me you're heading to the game tomorrow night.
I am. I'm fortunate enough to go to the game with my father-in-law, and I think that loss on Sunday actually solidified my spot. You know, my mother-in-law doesn't want to go, and I lucked out. Well,
there you go. I mean, what? Twice in 3 weeks that one of us goes with their father-in-law.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I'll go to 4 games this year, counting this one, so pretty lucky.
Well, there you go. And I mean, we were talking about this last week and the week before even, but you're not too far away, so this isn't really going to be that much of a disruption for you.
Yeah, it's not going to be really a disruption except for the fact that I got to be up early on Friday and go to work and be an adult. So,
adulting is definitely hard, and it gets in the way of a lot of fun. But I'm glad you're get to see this game here coming up. But let's swing back to Sunday here. First thought I've got is it just feels like everything's just off. I don't see anything that's just extremely broken, but it doesn't seem like anything's working up to speed either.
Yeah, it's hard to get a gauge on if we're going to be like the year that Rodgers was hurt and we kind of like scraped and clawed to get in the playoffs when he came back, and it's hard to tell if we're going to be one of those 9-7 or 10-6 teams, or if we're going to get healthy eventually and go on a run. There's some tough games left, and at Atlanta, Seattle at home. The divisional games, Minnesota at home, we should take care of business, but if Minnesota's as good as advertised, I could see this honestly being a 9-7, 10-6 year. I really could.
Yeah, and for us to be considering that rough, that just speaks to the success the Packers have had over the past decade or so. And the fact is, it's really hard to see what exactly is wrong. You could see Rodgers missing a pass or two here and there. He did have a decent completion percentage this past game. But it just feels like the timing is a split second off for a lot of things to go right for the Packers. And it just speaks volumes to how hard it is to win in this league. And for the Packers to have won so many games over the past couple of seasons just speaks to how much talent they have and how cohesive they have been. Now, the question is, can they find themselves back to where they were, or is this the beginning of a downward trend?
Yeah, I don't know. I would think that Rodgers has quite a few years left in him. He's not that old. He hasn't really had many significant injuries throughout his career. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of young talent yet on this team. I think they do need to address a couple of things next year's draft, one being like a breakaway back, one being like a solidified receiver that can, stretch the field. I think Jordy may have lost a step with stretching the field. I don't see many big plays down the field from our receivers. So that a guy that can take the top off of it, the Sammy Coates type guy or the Brandon Cooks type guy, we need one of those breakaway backs and receivers. They are hard to find, but when you get them, man, does it make a difference. And I think that's what we're lacking right now is the big plays and the stretching the field.
Yeah, I know a lot of Packer fans like to rally behind Jeff Janis as a big play guy, but besides a couple of really big plays in the playoffs last year, that really has never materialized. The promise is there, but as they like to say in coaching circles, your promise and your potential is going to get you fired. We just haven't seen Rodgers and Janis be able to connect. So is it time to maybe look for somebody else to fill that role potentially?
That's my thought, and maybe that's going to be Trevor Davis next year. Maybe it's not. I know he has 4.3 speed and stuff. There's a difference between having 4.3 speed and having 4.3 football speed. Even on punt returns, I know he's had a couple of decent ones this year, but the fact he hasn't broken one yet, and Micah Hyde's got more punt returns, in his career than a guy with 4.3 speed. So Micah Hyde's not running a 4.3. And I know it's early yet; it's only 5 games in, but just haven't really seen that many big plays out of the Packers. And Trevor Davis is a guy that people rave about his speed. Well, you gotta hit the hole and find that crease and outrun people. And until he does that, he's just another punt returner to me.
Right. And now another guy that I've been harping on anyway since the beginning is Ty Montgomery. They seem to put a lot of touches on his plate this past week, and it looked like he did pretty well. Do you think that continues, or is that something that was more called on because of the lack of depth at running back right now?
I absolutely think it'll continue at least until Lacey and Starks are back, or until Niall Davis knows the offense a little better. Picking him up on Tuesday for a Thursday game, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even dress for tomorrow night's game. But I really think that Ty Montgomery will be used still out of the backfield. And I wouldn't be surprised if Randall Cobb's also used out of the backfield.
Right, we've seen both of them out of the backfield, but you do mention Niall Davis. It's the first player that the Packers have specifically traded for, from what I've heard, all the way back till 2010. So it tells you how rarely Ted Thompson makes trades going for specific players. Now Davis is in town, for, like you said, on Tuesday for the Thursday game. Timing couldn't have been worse for the Packers to have lost Lacey and Starks, who are both been ruled out this week. There's also talk about bringing Don Jackson out from the practice squad. You may have gotten a little bit more of a look, because he doesn't ring a bell to me at all. Did you see much out of him in training camp or in the preseason at all?
I have not. In fact, the two guys I remember were Crockett and I think it was Burks, number 34. I do not remember this guy at all. I think they may have gotten him late in training camp. They signed him. I'm a little nervous. I had never seen the guy, but you know what? He's unscouted then, and maybe he'll give the Bears some fits. I look back in the 90s when we had a run of really poor running backs after Dorsey Levens and Edgar Bennett, or maybe even early 2000s. Sam Congato ring a bell?
Yes, he does.
That year, I believe we went through about 4 or 5 running backs, and if it happened once, I wouldn't be counting on it, but Packer fans can be hopeful that Don Jackson and Niall Davis are talked about next week in a positive way.
Yeah, we certainly hope so, but the injury woes continue for the Packers, not only at the running back position, but at the corner position. Sam Shields was just sent to injured reserve, and both Quentin Rollins and Damaris Randall are listed as out. So it's going to be another rough go as far as depth goes on the corners. The Bears do seem to have some weapons, putting up some passing yards over the past few weeks, so we'll get into that a little bit deeper on the other side of things. But a second straight game with a very low level of depth at the corner, that's got to be a scary proposition.
Yeah, and I'm confused. I don't know how Eli Manning and the weapons he has at New York with Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz, and Odell Beckham are basically held in check. Cruz had 0 catches. I believe Shepard had 1 or 2 catches. Odell Beckham only had 5 for 56 yards. I know that the Giants couldn't run the ball on us, and Dallas could, but I just don't understand how poor our coverage was against Dallas with a rookie quarterback. They're going to run. And for the first half, the Packers' defense did absolutely outstanding on Ezekiel Elliott in that run game. I think his longest run was 9 or 11 yards in the first half. busted off some chunks, and I think he gets stronger as the game goes on, as well as that offensive line. Time of possession, they beat us. They beat us up pretty good in the trenches in the second half. But back to the corners, I don't know what's going on with Demarius Randall and Quentin Rollins, but that concerns me, especially with Sam Shields, receiving his third concussion in 2 years and fourth overall in his career. I think it may be the last we've seen of Sam Shields in the NFL, period. That's a long time to sit now until next OTAs or next mini camps. There's a lot of influence from family and stuff. Sam, are you sure, you have enough money to retire? Are you sure you want to do this? I think that people will be in his ear, and I would not be shocked at all if he retires.
Yeah, I certainly hope that isn't the case, but you never do know these days, especially with the increased awareness about concussions. Now, Rollins and Randall are both younger players, and the injuries are more of a physical variety here. Just worrisome, though, that two guys that the Packers have spent such high draft picks on are already starting to see some wear and tear on their bodies so early in their career. So Darius Gunter, of course, is going to be seeing a lot of action this week. Undrafted last year, I believe, and really wowed a lot of people. So we'll see if he can continue that. And I would expect to see a little bit more of Micah Hyde, too, just to shore up the lack of depth going on. The good news is it feels like the front seven, however they stack up, are going to be a little bit more healthy, and the Packers are going to have most of their receiver contingent available, although Jared Abbrederis is out this week. Besides the two trouble spots, it seems like the Packers are doing okay on the injury front anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little more consistent play out of HaHa Clinton Dix and Morgan Burnett as well. But the receiver spot, it's very tough to get a gauge on who they're going to use and in what capacity. You know what you're getting with Jordy. If Devontae Adams is out, we kind of lack that receiver on the outside other than Jordy and Randall. So do they move Randall out to the outside and then have Ty Montgomery in the slot along with maybe a Trevor Davis, create some matchup problems there? I don't know. All I know is the offensive line has played very well. In my opinion, Rodgers has had days to throw the ball. And I want to see us get back to the sprint right pass, with the pulling guard out there to protect them. Get back to the slants and the screens. Get back to the get rid of the ball and don't let them think so much. Mike McCarthy's got to be in his ear going, hey, 3-step drop, get it out. We're playing backyard football, and people are just basically more talented and, a little bit more athletic at the corner position than what we're used to, I think. And, the big 6'2" corners are getting more popular. I don't know if it's vanilla so much, but we generally have never been a big turnover team, and we've turned the ball over a lot this year, especially on the other side of the 50. So finishing drives, taking care of the football, and cleaning up the penalties, cleaning up the turnovers. I think if we can do that tomorrow night, I think we win.
Yeah, it was an awfully sloppy game on Sunday as far as the turnovers and penalties went. And that's one thing that Rodgers has never been much of, is turning the ball over. I think isn't he already approaching the amount of interceptions he threw last year already at this point in the season?
He is. And what's weird is he's so afraid to throw an interception, it seems like. But the one on Sunday, he said he never saw Barry Church. I believe him. But to me, okay, so here's the Aaron Rodgers we're used to. We're used to the quarterback rating of over 100, great on third down, doesn't miss wide open throws in the end zone. We're used to him being on point. He is a little bit off, and his mechanics are different. He throws off his back foot a lot more. He's lofting more passes, trying to get the arc and throw it over defenders. And look, to a Cleveland Browns or Miami Dolphins or New York Jets team, 70% completion and 300 yards, they're probably in love with that.
Yeah, they're telling us to shut up right now, aren't they?
What's that?
They're telling us to shut right up right now, aren't they?
Yeah, and we've been so spoiled with good quarterback play for 25 years that it's really, 24 years, it's really, to the rest of the NFL, it's like, what are you guys crying about? We've had 25 quarterbacks since you guys have had 2. And, I just think people need to understand it's nothing like, oh, he quit dairy, so he's not as strong, or Olivia Munn's a distraction. I do think there's a possibility that Aaron has some family stuff going on, just from things I've heard. Hasn't spoken to either one of his brothers in over a year. Maybe he's just got too much on his plate right now. Maybe he is distracted a little bit, but I'm so tired of hearing people blame Olivia Munn, and, like no other players in the NFL have ever been dating or got married. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there's a lot of horse stuff around and about all that. But, there's something definitely going on, because Aaron Rodgers does not miss 3 chances in the end zone at Randall Cobb in a normal game. He doesn't go over 3 on that. He at least goes, at the very least, 1 for 3 on, and there's more points on the board, but there were 3 bad misses in the end zone that I counted just towards Cobb. So here's hoping that whatever is the problem here gets sorted out sooner rather than later, because, frankly, I'm tired of talking about it.
Yeah, and, the one thing I did post on Facebook this week during the game, I usually try to stay away from posting during the game because I believe it's how you finish, not how you start. And a lot of people start ready to jump off a bridge, or, hypothetically, it's a figure of speech. But people get excited real early. And I did say in the third quarter or second quarter, I said, is it me, or does Rodgers look kind of Jay Cutler-esque? Because he just seemed disengaged, not excited. Where's the passion and the energy? I mean, I think teammates feed off of that as well. And he just looked very disengaged and like absent-minded from the game. It looked like he didn't have a care in the world. And I've never, ever said that about Aaron Rodgers. I never hope I see it again. But to me, he looked very, very out of the world, like totally not there focused, totally not there in care, passion, emotion. Like, you're the leader on this team. This is your team. You need to, carry yourself like you care about your teammates and care about how you're performing. And I know he cares, but he's got to show a little bit better body language, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just did not look like anybody was having any fun out there this past week. It felt like they got behind early and just never felt like they were as good as the Cowboys. And that's unfortunate because, yes, the Dallas Cowboys are a pretty good team right now. They're 5-1, but even a couple plays going the Packers' way, a few of those mistakes turn not being mistakes, and the Packers are playing right along with them, even with the way they're playing. So they still have the talent to make a run here, but the question is, can they get over this hump that they've been dealing with for the past, season and a half at this point?
And to be honest, Joe, we're 3-2. What are we complaining about? We're not 5-0. We've lost the teams that are combined 10-1. There's teams out there like Carolina who was expected to do what they did last year, and they're 1-5. There's teams like San Diego. There's teams like Philadelphia started 3-0 and they're 3-2. I mean, it always could be worse. We could be the Bears. They still suck.
That they do. We are, I suppose, the epitome of spoiled right now, but, hopefully we can keep being spoiled for years and years on end here. But it may be somebody else's turn sooner rather than later, but I'll go kicking and screaming. I'm hoping that the Packers can keep their good times going as long as possible, because we've seen that the franchise can go into long-term slumps as well. So I'm hoping to avoid that again after the excellent play that they've exhibited since, well, probably 1992. What if they had, I'm just trying to count, 2 under 500 seasons?
Yeah, we were 4-12 once with Mike Sherman, and I believe we were 6-10 another year.
Yeah, that was Rodgers' first year, and just they can never finish games that year. But all right, well, that's enough whining. I'm tired of feeling down about a 3-2 team because.
I'm not whining. I'm pointing out, my opinion and some facts. And, there's a lot of negative Nellies on Facebook ready to jump off the bandwagon. If you're a Packer fan and you've been born and bred a Packer fan like I have, you don't ever jump off the wagon. You don't ever, make hideous comments towards the players. You might share your opinions on stuff. Like Mike McCarthy's got to get better at managing a game. He's got to get better at choosing when to challenge things. I mean, there's things that they can improve on. Just like Ted Thompson, everyone would love to see him make a splash. He finally, made a move during the season, which never happens, as you touched on. That tells you that they're concerned, at least, in trying to fix what's broken. You can't prevent injuries. All you can do is try to overcome them. What I want people to remember is we were the 6th seed, went through a season where we lost, I believe, 10 of our 22 starters in 2010 and won the Super Bowl when Charles Woodson also got hurt, and everybody hated Jarrett Bush. I saw more derogatory comments on Jarrett Bush than I think I've seen on every other Packer in my lifetime combined, and he ended up having an interception, and then he was loved because he helped us win the Super Bowl. So 10-6, get in the playoffs. You never know what can happen, especially nowadays. People are not afraid to play on the road.
Yep, and even last year, the Packers hung in with Arizona, one of the best teams in the league, on the road in the playoffs. You never do know. That is absolutely for sure. And I just want to add to your comments, too. I'm just sick of seeing people say Ted Thompson needs to go. He's a terrible GM. I just want to hand them the Packer media guide when they say that. Open up to the seasons from 2005 on and go, look at that record, look at that record, look at that record. There's a Super Bowl in there. There's a bunch of playoff victories in there. What more do you want?
Well, and exactly, we have to remember, Mike McCarthy is another one they're talking about, he may be fired. No, he's 3-2. He's not getting fired mid-season. The Packers didn't fire Ray Rhodes mid-season or Mike Sherman, who was 4-12. If they don't fire mid-season for those guys, how do you fire a guy that's been to the playoffs 7 years in a row? I believe 9 out of 11 years he's been in the playoffs. 8 out of 11, something like that. Won the division how many times? His record in the division is impeccable, and he's number 17 overall all-time winning percentage. I don't think that he's one of the all-time great coaches. I think there's better out there. However, I believe he's the best option right now. You fire McCarthy at the end of the year, who are you getting to replace him? Not somebody that has the reputation, the credentials, and the proven success rate, even if it is regular season. As I told a couple of friends this week, I'd rather have a shot at contending than to be a bottom feeder.
Right, because if you're contending, you have hope every single year. The other thing being, there are flaws in Mike McCarthy's game, but who else is going to work so well with Ted Thompson? They have a proven track record together. Their philosophies mesh enough for success to happen. There's really no need to make a change unless it completely collapses around everybody. And at this point, we spent, a good 10, 15 minutes talking about everything that ails the Packers, and yet, like you said, they've lost the teams with a combined record of 10-1. They are 3-2 on the season, and they're going to be facing a 1-5 team that wishes they had our problem.
Absolutely, and it's early. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And if the Packers can get healthy and win, say, their last 7 or 8 games and get a 5 or a 6 seed and go on the road and win a couple of games, win the Super Bowl, you never know. And it's possible, and people can't say it's not because they were underdogs in just about every game in the playoffs when they were a 6 seed. in 2010. So if they get hot, let's say the Packers win the games they should win, lose a few, and they end up 11-5. So that's, 11 weeks from now? Nobody's going to remember this game. Nobody's going to remember how we started 3-2. Nobody's going to remember, Dallas beat us 30-16 at home if we beat them in the playoffs. And I look back to the year that we lost to the Giants here in the NFC Championship. I believe it was 2013.
Was it 2011 with the 15-1 record, I think?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, it was. So we beat the Giants week 2 like 45-20 or something like that. And they came into our house and beat us later in the year. So we totally demoralized the team early in the season. They were a different football team when we met up in the playoffs. And that can happen anywhere. It doesn't just happen to one team. You see teams like Pittsburgh who gets hot at the right time. You see teams like, Dallas. Right now they're hot, but Jerry Jones could screw that up with bringing Tony Romo back, lose the team for Jason Garrett. Next thing you know, we're talking about at the end of the year, Jason Garrett, wow, look at how they started, 5-1, and he ended up getting fired. They could lose 8 in a row.
We've seen that before. We've seen them go 8-4 and then finish 8-8. So
absolutely, and the Packers.
Definitely a possibility.
I got ripped a little bit this week because I said the Packers own the intangibles. In our division, in the NFC, we have the most stable coaching staff. We have the quarterback that's arguably one of the best in the NFL, and we have weapons at receiver. We have a decent defense. We have an experienced defensive coordinator that's been a head coach. We have December, I believe our record is something amazing in December over the last 20 years. Out of 80 games, I think we're like 68-12. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we own the intangibles. We know how to play down the stretch. We're banged up right now. Maybe that continues all year. Maybe Jared Cook doesn't come back. Maybe, Sam Shields obviously went to IR. Maybe Randall and Rollins, they're hampered all year. Maybe Clay Matthews goes down. God, I hope not. But if we get healthy at the right time, we peak at the right time, anything can happen. And as a Packer fan, I still hold belief that that'll happen.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and hit our break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about a team that's suffering a lot more than we are, if we're suffering at all. Back in just a moment here on thegruelingtruth.net.
Get in the Titletown Huddle with Joe Pritchard and Aaron Zepnick on thegruelingtruth.net.
And welcome back to the Titletown Huddle at thegruelingtruth.net. We were mentioning before that the Bears still suck. I just wanted to reiterate that point. They are 1-5. Jay Cutler is injured, so that means they have a better quarterback in place. Brian Hoyer, of course, has done things like make the Cleveland Browns respectable, so he's not the worst quarterback in the league at this point. He has been putting up quite a few numbers, but they seem to struggle to score points. So we're hoping that they continue that struggle this week. Aaron, do you see anything holding the Packers back from winning this one?
Just a lack of health, I think, if anything. Anything can happen in the NFL. Anyone can get beat from week to week. I think there's so much parity now that, Cleveland could beat New England if they caught them on the right week and New England was banged up enough, and so certain things happen. They got some bounces, and, that's another thing. The Packers have knocked balls in the air lately, and we have not gotten the bounces. Usually those fall in our hands. That's not happening this year. But other teams are getting, batted balls. We did get the one where Joe Thomas got the interception/fumble on Dak Prescott. But point being, I just don't think Chicago is consistent enough. I don't think they know how to win close games. They showed it against Jacksonville. They just don't impress me, and they are better away from home, believe it or not, than they are at home. But I just think I just don't think Aaron Rodgers has another bad home game in a row, 2 in a row, performances. I don't think he misses the throws he missed on Sunday. It's a short week. Anything could happen. But with Mike McCarthy's track record against the Bears in the division, I picked the Packers 23-14, something like that.
All right, and I did have in mind 16-7 here. Taking the offense may continue to struggle, but the defense may not have as much of a problem with the Bears. Something that bugs me about this matchup, though, is that the Packers and the Bears seem to play at night all the time these days. And that just drives me nuts because in my formative years, let's call them, the Packers would play the Bears in October and November starting at noon. The field would always be muddy or it'd be rainy or crappy. There was even that one Monday night Halloween game that was basically a marsh for the teams to play through. I just wish that the league would stop putting this game at night and start letting it be where it belongs on a nice fall afternoon in bad weather.
Oh, I disagree. I think the 193rd meeting, the rivalry, the tradition, that's meant for prime time. Look at the Thursday night games you get. I mean, Thursday night and Monday night games have not been very intriguing. Packers-Bears is always a game that people want to watch. It's what the NFL was made with. It's the 1900s, the early 1900s when they started playing, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. It was the Bears and the Packers and the Giants and stuff like that. But when you look at football, for me anyway, and most of the people I've ever talked to, when you look at the NFL and you think football, you think Packers-Bears.
And can you believe this? They've been playing for so long that they're nearing the 100-year anniversary of their rivalry, and the Bears are up, I believe it was 93-91 plus the ties in the rivalry. That could very well become a tied rivalry by the end of this season. Just amazing what kind of parity has been there between these two teams over the course of basically a century.
Absolutely, and like the song says, and the Bears still suck. It says when it comes to football rivalries, we're both number one. I think that's true. I think the Packer-Bear rivalry. You look back to the Nitschke and Butkus days. You look to the McMahon and Mikowski days with the after further review play, and you look to the Favre days where they went through about 15 quarterbacks in Favre's career. And, they owned us for a while. And Urlacher kind of made some plays, and they beat us a couple of times. But for the most part, Favre and Rodgers have owned the Bears. So we are definitely looking good as far as the odds.
Yeah, I quite like that. And I hope I'm not making you feel too old with this comment, but the instant replay game was the first time I remember the Packers beating the Bears. They had done it in my lifetime before that, but I was too young to notice. So,
going into that game, I think we lost something like 12 or 13 games in a row.
I don't know if it quite got there, but it got real close. But I think it was 84 when the Bears basically had Walter Payton playing Wildcat quarterback for a few plays. That was the last time they had beaten them. I think that was the game where Rich Campbell underthrew Phillip Epps real bad, but the Bear defender didn't make the adjustment, and the Packers got away with one there. And then they lost. They got swept in 85, 86, 87, and 88. So some pretty ugly times in the 80s.
Yeah, so it was at least 8 games. You figure 2 times in 85, 86, 87, 88. 89 was the year of the instant replay game, I believe, with Mikowski. So yeah, it was definitely 12 out of 13 or something like that. It was definitely a long time coming. I remember being a teenager, and that was the year I was riding players on my bike, and I remember the excitement around town. Finally, we beat the Bears. So Yeah, it's very intriguing matchup, and that's why I think prime time is definitely the place for it.
All right. Well, let's hope that this one doesn't end up being decided on a replay here. Like it's a little bit too close to call these days here. But do you have any final thoughts about the rivalry or anything pertaining to this ballgame?
I just looked it up. The rivalry is 94, 92, and 6. The Bears have the edge by 2 games. So, yes, you're correct. After the 2 this year and 192 meetings, it's 94, 92 to 6. So we could catch up and tie that series this year.
Yeah, and the playoffs are 1-1 as well, I believe, right?
Yep, us winning on Soldier Field in the NFC Championship game, actually.
Yeah, that was a fantastic day. We were hoping for more points, but we didn't need them.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and leave that there for this week. A little bit longer show than usual, but the Bears inspire a few words anyway about the rivalry. So until next week, this is Joe Pritchard with Aaron Zepnick. You've been listening to the Titletown Huddle at thegruelingtruth.net, where the legends speak.
The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. They really, 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 really suck. Yes, the Bears still suck. Hey!
Thank you for listening to the Titletown Huddle on thegruelingtruth.net.